Joining us now to discuss New York Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Senator Gillibrand, thanks for joining us. So do you think there are 5 votes on the U.S. Supreme Court to keep mifepristone legal and have access to it?
We don't know, but what we do know is since the Dobbs decision, this court has had an all-out assault on women's reproductive freedom, starting with that decision that takes away the right to privacy. And what we are seeing in these Republican legislatures, as well as these very conservative courts, is a continuation of that assault. So to take away the right to have medicine is an extension of taking away this right to privacy. To say we can't have medicine sent by doctors by mail to people across the country is further invading into this right to privacy, where the court and government has a right to what's in your mail and who you're talking to and what communications you're having. It's an outrage. And so we will fight in every respect we can. We will file lawsuits. We will continue to appeal this kind of decision. We will also continue to fight state by state to codify Roe in state law. And we've had many ballot initiatives, even in red places like Kansas and Montana, where we have been successful. The American people believe that we have this right to privacy, and people believe that women have reproductive freedom. And so if they want to guarantee it, they're going to have to fight for it, and we're going to eventually have to codify it.
So you said that you're going to have to fight for it, and after the ruling you tweeted, "We will not allow this attack on our reproductive freedom to stand." Beyond fighting it in court, what else should Democrats do? I mean, there are some Democrats, as you know, I believe including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from your home state of New York, who say the FDA should just simply ignore the ruling.
It's hard to ignore the rule of law, and we have a court system and an appeal system for a reason. So I think the Biden administration is correct in actually fighting this in the Supreme Court. Whether we win or not in the Supreme Court doesn't mean that's our last effort. We will go state by state to guarantee reproductive freedom. But I think the national conversation we have to have is this right to privacy. When you take away 50% of America's right to privacy, to say women don't have it during their reproductive years, it is such an overstretch and an outrageous statement that I think when people wake up to the reality of what this means for a conservative court where they believe they should impose their views of the world on their religious beliefs, their views on health care, on the FDA's decision of 20 years ago of a drug that has been deemed very safe. You have more likely of being risk your health from taking Tylenol than mifepristone. That is a fact. And so where we are today is an outrage and such an overreach by courts that we as people need to fight back. We also need to flip the House, and we need to codify Roe. So
flipping the House, that can't happen until November 2024. But I have to say, there are tools in the House. There's a thing called a discharge petition. Mm-hmm. You're a former member of the House. You know this, where 218 members of the House can force a bill onto the floor for a vote. And it's hard not to see that there would be 218, mostly Democrats, but also Republicans, that would want to have mifepristone legal by law. How come Democrats aren't doing that? I mean, I know you're not in the House, but shouldn't they be?
They may, and this may be a tactic that they will pursue. But access to medicine is life-saving. And as you said in your opening, this medicine is used for many, many indications, for women in menopause, for miscarriages. Courts and judges should not be imposing their religious beliefs on the FDA and our scientific review of what medicines are healthy for patients.
Let's turn to the shocking leak of classified materials. I think a lot of Americans right now are wondering why a 21-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guardsman had access to such highly sensitive information in the first place. Speaker McCarthy said the Biden administration was, quote, asleep at the switch and, quote, failed to secure classified information. You're on the Intelligence Committee. Is he right? Is this a failure of the Biden administration?
Well, we're going to do a full investigation, and the Intelligence Committee is also going to have a thorough investigation. We've focused intensely on how we keep our secrets safe. And I have a lot of questions about why were these documents lying around? Why did this particular person have access to them? Where was the custody of the documents and who were they for? Those are important questions we can ask in the Intelligence Committee so that we can have stronger oversight.
So CNN's Evan Perez told me that after Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden did their leaks, which were very different, they weren't showing off to friends. They saw things that they thought were malfeasance and brought it to the light of the American people or worldwide. But after those leaks, the intelligence community took steps to protect against leaks in the future. But the intelligence community believes that the U.S. military is still kind of the weak link because so many people have security clearances and DOD doesn't vet them as vigorously as they're vetted in the CIA or the NSA example. You're also on the Armed Services Committee. Do you agree with that assessment? Is the military a weak link when it comes to this sort of thing?
Those are the type of questions we're going to ask in a hearing. We're going to have an all senators briefing this week, but we will also be having hearings in the Intelligence Committee and in the Armed Services Committee. We need to know the facts. We need to know who this airman was, why he felt he had the authority or ability to show off confidential documents, secret documents to his friends. It sounds like he was extremely immature and someone who did not understand the weight and the importance of these documents. And so we need to figure it out and put proper protections in place.
According to the Washington Post, some of the leaked documents reveal that U.S. intelligence agencies knew of 4 additional Chinese spy balloons, including one that flew over an American carrier group, and that there are still lingering questions about the true capabilities of the one that crossed the mainland U.S. Do you think the Biden administration is being forthcoming enough when it comes to everything they know about these balloons?
Well, I'll be having a hearing on all of the unidentified aerial phenomenon this coming week.
Oh, great.
And one of the
Will you come back and talk to us about it afterwards?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I created, along with Senator Warner and Senator Rubio and Senator Heinrich and some others, an office within the DOD and the Intelligence Committee specifically to review every unidentified aerial phenomenon that the military has access to. And we have the most intensely specific technology that can video different aerial phenomenon, that can get radar, heat sensing through our aircraft, through other radar detection. And so we set up this office 2 years ago. And during that 2 years, they've reviewed over 300 different evidence of aerial phenomenon. About half of them were deemed to be weather balloons, these type of balloon technology, perhaps detection devices. About 24 were deemed to be drones. A handful were debris or birds. And there was still 171 that they have not assessed what it is. And so this work has to be done. If we're going to have domain awareness, if we're going to have aerial dominance, if we want to make sure that our adversaries aren't spying on us or using new technologies or have aircraft that we don't even know how it functions or how fast it is or how effective it is, that is a national security risk. And so knowing what these aircraft are is essential. And the military, unfortunately, just hasn't been doing that work. They've just assumed they are non-adversarial because of how they fly or how they function. But I think knowing whether you are being spied on through different kinds of technology is essential to our national security. So this office is up and running. I'm working with colleagues to make sure it's fully funded. We're pushing the Biden administration and the military to ask for full funding this year, and I think it's vital.
House Republicans are pushing to restructure the federal food assistance program known as SNAP, which benefits 41 million low-income Americans. They argue that putting new limits on the program, expanding work requirements, will save taxpayers money and close loopholes that allow for abuse. What's your take?
That is not what it will do. It will cut 4 million children and 5 million adults off from the food assistance that they need. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program works. It keeps people from starving or having terrible health outcomes. Most of the people on SNAP are kids. And many of the adults on SNAP are veterans. A lot of our veterans are food insecure. Older people are often food insecure. People with disabilities are food insecure. We are the richest nation in the world. We should not be cutting a program that keeps our kids from going hungry and being able to focus in school. It's a priority, and I think the attacks by the Republicans are cynical, and they're just trying to save money so they can balance the budget off the backs of low-income people who desperately need food for their families.
And lastly, Senator, there are growing calls among Democrats for 89-year-old Senator Dianne Feinstein to resign. She's missed 60 votes for the last 2 months due to illness. Her absence is increasingly harming Democrats' ability to confirm nominees, pass legislation. There's been a lot of talk in the last several years about her awareness, her cognitive abilities. Do you think it's time for her to step down?
Dianne Feinstein is an extraordinary senator, and she's been a role model and a mentor to me my entire career. I sit with her on the Intelligence Committee. She asks some of the most searing, pointed questions of anyone on that committee. Her legacy and her depth of experience is valuable. And we've had so many senators who have had illnesses, whether it's Mitch McConnell's illnesses or senators who have had strokes. These are issues that we're human, and we believe that a senator should be able to make their own judgments about when they're retiring and when they're not, and they all deserve a chance to get better and come back to work. Dianne will get better. She will come back to work, and she's already told Senator Schumer that he can replace her on the Judiciary Committee if it's urgent for these hearings for judges. She's a team player, and she's an extraordinary member of the Senate. It's her right. She's been voted by her state to be senator for 6 years. She has the right, in my opinion, to decide when she steps down.
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a Democrat of New York, always good to see you. Thank you so much. Appreciate your coming in.
Thanks, Jake.